This episode of the Off-Road Podcast is sponsored by Colby Valve.
Off-Road Podcast, episode 476, Moab Trip Report, Part 2.
Tonight, Aaron reads a map, Coy unloads, Josh is nearly awake, and Ben is back at school.
Welcome to the Off-Road podcast about everything off-road. We cover the news, review products, and interview people in the off-road industry. Your hosts tonight are Aaron Coy. My name is Ben, and joining us once again is Josh.
We just kind of talked too slow last time. We didn't even make it through a whole week of a Moab trip.
So slow.
It was an exciting trip, though. All I did this week was go to work and unload my crap, put it away, half of which I did Saturday, a couple days ago. I just let a bunch of it sit. Let it sit.
I
just walked away from it. I haven't fixed a single broken thing. Like, I just got home. My FJ's sitting in front of my shop with a flat tire. Like, nothing. I haven't even put the spare out. Like, that's next weekend's problem.
I guess so.
Yeah. What about you, Aaron? You get any headway putting stuff away or anything?
I'm gonna one up you. Not only did I get my stuff put away, but I had got some shelves. I don't know if I talked about this a couple weeks ago or not, but I got some shelves, and so I went to work and I got the plywood and the mezzanine above my shop done, and then I built the shelves and then put not only the stuff that I took, but all of my camping gear. So everything on that mezzanine is almost 100% camping gear. So that's mostly what I did.
It's nice and well organized, Aaron.
It feels good, and that means it's also not taking up space elsewhere in the shop. So it's up high and out of the way. I bought a new tent. I borrowed the Gazelle T4 for this trip, and it was spotless, like brand new looking when I borrowed it, and it's so dusty and dirty in Moab. The first time I put a foot inside the tent, I knew that I was going to have to just replace the whole tent. So I just bought another tent, and they're going to get the brand new tent, and I'll just keep their Gazelle T4. So got a new tent. That's always exciting.
Nice.
And I needed a smaller, easy tent for when we go snow camping and solo trips and stuff like that. So I'm excited about it. And then on Saturday, I took a map and compass course. That was kind of fun. Some of my friends put it on where we refreshed ourselves on how to use a compass, and then we had to trace out some coordinates and measure them. I had to figure out our pace.
What app did you use for that?
I used a actual Brunton compass. No apps
Brunton
at all.
Compass app. I'll have to look that one up.
I used that and a clear plastic ruler. So, that's what I was up to.
You didn't bust out the protractor?
I don't have a map protractor, but I will eventually own a map protractor because I borrowed one and it made it so much easier when when your course is kind of zigzagging back and forth, and when it switches directions 180 degrees, or maybe not quite 180 degrees. You have to remember to rotate your compass to the direction that you're walking to get your compass reading correctly. And we weren't always doing that and kept on forgetting. So, how about you, Ben? What you doing?
I've been busy. My kids are in the school play, and because I'm one of those parents that helps out, I've been there. I was there 6 days last week during rehearsals working on stuff.
Yeah.
The directors he likes to every year bump it up a notch, and he asked me to make it snow. I think I talked about that last week. So I made it snow, and now it's like, oh, do this, this, and this, and this. And so I've just been there set building or helping out with whatever. So it's like I work at like driving the kids to school, and then I go home for a little bit, and then I'm back at school after work, and then after work I'm back at the school, and then they had rehearsal on Saturdays. It's just work on kids stuff.
You're
And
showing
then-
the kids how to change tires?
Oh, actually, Saturday I had left the paper shredder that I've been using there, and I don't trust high school kids to not touch stuff. So I went back and grabbed it, and someone was in the parking lot. Their son's power steering hose blew, and they'd replaced the hose, but it was squealing because it was low on fluid, and they were putting in fluid, but they didn't know, they'd never done it before. And like, do you know anything about diesels or power steering pumps? And I was like, oh, sure. So I hopped out and I showed them how to burp the power steering pump by working out all the, because it was like so aerated because it was underfold. And I'm like, yeah, you got pump it around a little bit. Now wait for the bubbles to go, do it again. And then got him home. So it's one of those stop and help somebody things.
Nice.
In the comments, Lifeline Fab, which is Alan, who was in the OJ Bronco on our trip, says that he got his Bronco fixed and has already wheeled it. So way to show off, Alan.
Yeah.
And Ryan from Alaska says he got his Bronco unloaded and that's it.
Nice.
I want
and
to point
Rego-
out that Alan probably drove a solid 4 hours back to his house, and then like did what, you know?
Yeah. And Regal Fraggle, who wasn't on our trip, picked up his F-150 from the shop. So
250.
yeah. Josh, what have you been doing?
Well, I got home after a couple days of driving and decided, you know what, I'm gonna push that unloading process off a few days, get caught up on some other stuff. Well, I got the Frontier off, left everything in the truck, and then a couple days ago I was like, all right, I gotta get all this unloaded. So I was starting to, I opened up the rear hatch of the truck cap, and it was like, whoa, it stinks in there. And
Was
I
there-
found I
Was
I
there
had
a
put
dead
my
raccoon in there?
No, there was not a dead raccoon, but there was a bunch of wet clothes that I forgot I had, and I stuffed it in a bag and threw it in there. And yeah, I think it was starting to grow a little bit, but so I got that and threw that down in the wash. But yeah, don't leave that stuff in there. That really starts to stink.
That's
But,
awful.
yeah.
Sometimes I just throw those clothes away. I'm like,
It's-
sorry. There's
yeah,
nothing I can do.
There's
to
no
save these.
saving it. Yeah. I've done that with lunch dishes, clothing. Just at some point you reach a point of no return. It's like it's grown. The science project has become too much to turn back.
Science project. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Gotta get rid of it before it starts calling you daddy.
If something like that. Yeah.
All right, guys, we got kind of an announcement to make before we jump into main topic here, and don't really know exactly how to say it, but this is our second to last episode. So next week we're gonna sign off. It's gonna be it for this iteration of the Off-Road Podcast. Nothing scandalous. A lot of reasons, like we got kids, and just this is we gotta move on with our lives. We've had a lot of fun with this, but it's a big time suck, putting out a show every week, and it was just kind of time for us. That being said, guys, this show has been the revolving door of hosts. So if somebody is interested,
It's a very slow revolving door, by the way.
yeah.
But it has revolved. If you want to pick it up at a discount, reach out to us.
Yeah. So
We'll make a good deal.
yeah, we'd love to see you. I will let you have it for 1 month's salary that this podcast makes. Just less than you think.
Yeah, you
fact,
just got to cut us the first check.
Technically,
that you
I think
make.
I have to give you like 27 hours of time to make that work. But $2 bet, it's yours.
Oh, first bid.
Yeah,
First bid. Yeah.
we'd
Anybody
love to
beats
see.
$2.
Yeah, we'd love to see the show move on. Like I I started out a listener to the show and became a host some point. Would love to continue listening. So somebody's interested in being the next host of the Off-Road Podcast,
Yeah.
message us. We'll help you get off your feet and stuff. So.
And I'll lay this out. If someone does honestly want to come in and start hosting it and taking over the show, I'll help walk you through everything, get you going, make sure to help keep it up and running. It's been my baby for the last pretty much 10 years of my life, and I have no problems, helping keep some life into it. So I won't leave you high and dry like, here's a show, here you go. Y'all make sure you figure it out.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard if you've ever been thinking about doing a podcast, starting from scratch, 0 listener base, 0 social media, anything. That's a long stretch. So you could at least pick up where we have left it.
Watch
we also want to thank our sponsor.
Sorry.
4-Wheel Parts is gonna come snatch it, and we're just gonna give it to them, and then they'll be like, "Oh, wow."
No, I wouldn't let that happen. Wouldn't let that.
I mean, I would. Like,
I mean, if they're gonna give us
$38, I'm in. Like,
yeah.
We also want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Patch. Head over to patriotpatch.co and check out their selection of great patches, shirts, cleaning mats, signs, and stickers. You can also join the Patch of the Month Club for $15 and receive a patch, matching sticker, and artist proof each month.
Well, boys, why don't you take it away with this main topic, shall you?
Well, the first thing I wanted to do, we mentioned our campsite last week, but I don't think we showed these pictures. I got a couple quick pictures to show before we jump into it. So here you can see some rigs with the trailers parked parallel, and there's the Gazelle tent in the background that I ended up buying.
Note the hood up on the tent.
Yeah. We were always doing something to our rigs. Didn't matter what day of the week it was. And then here's the campsite. So there's a place to hang hammocks, which I brought a hammock and hung it. I laid in it one time, but with no cloud cover or shade, it's hard to lay in a hammock. Thankfully the eating area had that cover with picnic tables underneath it. Behind it was a fire pit. And then we set up our tents off to the left there. So it is a nice little group campsite. If anybody's ever interested, check it out. It's got Gold Bar Group Camp or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nice and close to Poison Spider too.
Very close to Poison Spider.
Badlands, I have no idea if 4-Wheel Parts is getting bought out due to the Hoonigan bankruptcy.
That would be interesting because the Off-Road Warehouse seems to do a pretty decent job. So.
Wait a minute, Hoonigan bankruptcy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Am I really behind on something?
After Ken Block passed, they immediately sold Hoonigan, and then surprise, without the star of the show, it immediately failed. That was the best idea by that family ever. It's just like, of course it's gone. The main guy died. Like, what are you gonna do? Like,
yeah.
And then we want to clarify our friend Ryan that showed up in the original Bronco. By original, I mean first gen, I guess. We talked about it some last week, but we reached out and confirmed he did drive from Alaska and back on bias ply tires.
Swampers.
Yeah, Swampers. Bias
Rolling Thunder.
Whoa. Yep.
He was on 37s.
Yeah.
I think. So
he said he only drove 8,274 miles. And
that's it, huh?
That little V8 powered Bronco only cost him $3,400 in fuel. So if you're in Alaska right now, you got a couple weeks, man. You can go down and do some wheeling for $3,400 in Moab. No biggie. You're gonna have to drive the wheeler there and back and stuff, but
wow. Josh, how many miles did you end up putting on from Ohio?
Not much compared to that from Ohio and back again. I think it was about 1,800 miles one way. So
3,600.
3,600 miles. Yeah, not bad. Nothing compared to that number. I mean, I don't know if he's calculated that, but he could probably ship his rig, fly first class, sleep in a hotel room, and then do all that in reverse for about the same cost.
I don't know. Shipping from Alaska might be tough.
Well, that's true. That's true. From where I was at, it's about $1,000 to ship a rig. So.
I wonder if it would have been cheaper for him to take the ferry down to Seattle, because that cut off a good chunk.
I think he could have used $400 to buy round trip tickets, bought some JK Cherokee for $3,000, wheeled it super hard, and then just donated it to charity or dropped off a junkyard on his way out of town. Left it in the airport parking lot. I don't know.
You never have to sign that title over.
Yeah, like you could just pull it.
You just go back to the guy's house you bought it from and leave it in his front yard.
I would no. You just pull it right into the most expensive parking at Salt Lake City Airport. Leave the ticket on the dash and fly back.
Why don't you go to a nice restaurant and valet the car? They take it away and park, and then you get your meal, dine and dash as an exchange payment, and then just leave.
I don't know if there's any place to valet your car in Moab.
That's maybe in Salt Lake. And I would like to point out, dining and dashing is just gross. Okay. If you start a fist fight in the restaurant, they'll kick you out without asking you to pay. Just a helpful hint. If you technically have it stolen, they told you to leave. So just a life hack, so you guys know. Ryan's says in the comments, cheaper to drive than ferry it.
Yeah,
that's a long ferry.
Ferry must not be that cheap.
Well, plans to go up north. I'm driving.
I only drove 2,600 miles, and that's because I took the long way home. Coy and I took a long way to hit some hot springs because we hadn't seen enough of each other with our shirts off. So,
I like how Josh talked about how far he drove 1,000 miles more than us.
Yeah,
like he didn't even double us. I don't know, Josh. It's kind of rookie.
We're gonna have to up it next year.
And,
I will say,
and he had a tag. He had a tag driver.
Like you drove 4 different states, and you're still in the same state. It's still the same cornfield, the same cows. The next day, you wake up and you're like, "Hey, check it out! It's a cornfield."
Which state is this?
Kansas.
Yeah,
I've always been Eastern Colorado is the same way. I mean, it's long and flat and boring.
I've been told that Nebraska is like the worst state to drive through. Like you check the map and the dots only moved a quarter inch. You're like, I've been driving for 4 hours. What's happening?
All right. Well, we don't want to offend any of our Kansas or Nebraska listeners on our second to our last episode.
You have a beautiful state.
Let's move on to where we left off last week. Last week we left off Monday night, so now it's Tuesday. I don't know. Did we mention? Was it Monday that Ryan showed up, or was that Sunday?
That was Sunday.
That was Sunday. Yeah, that's right. That was Sunday. I don't remember if we mentioned that or not. That Ryan showed up. We rolled into camp.
We're like halfway through Gold Bar. It'll be like 3 hours, and we'll be there at like 1. We roll it at like 7:30.
Yeah, Coy's bad with time.
Hey, everybody else thought that too, though. To be fair, like if we had taken a poll, I don't think anybody we should be done by 9. Like,
yeah. Anyways, it's Tuesday. Because I had, I was having those ECU issues. I decided to hang back, do some troubleshooting, drive into town where there's internet, do some research, try to figure out what's going on with my truck, maybe buy some parts, figure that out. So I hung back. I did not go into town that day. Also, Alan, with the OJ Bronco, he stayed behind as well. He needed to do the brakes on his tow rig. So he hung back. He also, I don't think he wanted to do top of the world. I think he'd done it one too many times. So he'd get altitude sickness or something. I'm not sure. So tell us about what you guys did, since I had a boring day.
Well, we went out and wheeled.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went out to Top of the World, and I can't remember what's the name of the bridge at the bottom there. Starts with a D. It's an old like Golden Gate Bridge looking bridge.
Oh, yeah, we swung on the metal poles.
Yeah, and it burned down at some point, so there's all these like cables and stuff hanging down, and Rick and everybody, like, it's one of those things where I jumped on it, started swinging around, and then like 9 guys were like, "Oh, that looks like fun," and then they're all trying to Tarzan from one to the next. It's just like it's like a tetanus jungle thing.
It is.
Like,
That is a good word for it.
Do you want me to play the video of that?
tetanus jungle gym, like it's just rusty.
Oh, yeah, do we have a
burned out
video?
stuff.
Is there a video?
There is.
Oh, that's like American Ninja or American Ninja Warrior.
Now you're stuck forever.
You can't park there.
I'm told I'm available. I'm timed at the wrong amount here.
All right. You need to get up higher, obviously.
Coming at you. Hang on it. It's about the time you run out of hand straight.
Pretty impressed with
Warrior
Rick.
ability.
Rick got out there and he outdid the best. That guy's got some hand. He's got that old man grip, that hand strength.
Dewey Bridge.
Dewey Bridge. Yeah.
Dewey Bridge.
We shot up to the top. We just kind of went for it. We took the left hand or right hand side on the way up. At the top of the loop, there's kind of a loop, so we went up the right side. Got to the top. Josh pulled up for the iconic picture with his Nissan. Got the good photo out there on the cliff edge, looking like a boss. And then,
well, I would be, except my left hand is, I'll admit, is clinging to my bull bar.
Yeah. Then I pulled up and got it, and then I tried to talk everyone else there, like, "Hey guys, like this is why you do this trails for this picture," and then everyone's like, "I'm good. No thanks." And it's like, we drove all the way here so you could pull out on this ledge and do the picture, and like no one else would do it. It kind of hurt my feelings. I'm not gonna lie.
I think it was Coy when you and I started talking about the last vehicle that's going to pull out on that ledge someday.
Oh,
and then,
when the ledge tips.
Whenever that, at some point, that rock's going to give when you pull a 2-ton vehicle out on it. And I think when we started talking about that, it kind of, gave everybody else a little poor taste.
I'd still do it.
How narcissistic is it to think that that's going to happen to you? Get off your high horse. Jeez.
Coy, so explain this photo that looks like a really scenic photo, but if you look closely,
there's a really ugly Nissan. Oh, sorry. Yeah, a couple guys are laying on the ledge looking down, and Josh, the 2 Joshes combine their power. And multiple phone pictures and a pair of binoculars that there's a fairly new KTM sitting at the bottom of this cliff somewhere.
Yeah.
Like,
best I can tell, it's something around a 2020 KTM 200 XCW.
whoa.
But that's just a calculated guess. It was a nice bike, though. It was not a bike that I would personally ride off of a cliff.
How far down is that?
Shoot, I don't know if Josh is in the comments right now. He had his rangefinder, and I think it was 340 yards, if I recall.
Yeah, it was 1,000 feet.
Whoa.
But that's to where the bike was, but that's kind of the first level spot. There's a series of cliffs getting lower and lower, on the bottom.
Yeah.
So
yeah, first we saw it, and I was like, oh, hey, look, it's like an RC car down there or something. And then he got out his scope and looked at it, and we're like, oh, it's a full-size dirt bike.
I liked somebody's theory. Somebody base jumped that thing, and they just right off, and then seems like you'd use a crappier dirt bike to me.
But
like,
maybe he wanted to make sure it didn't go kaput right before the edge.
As long as it gets you off the edge, I think the 1,000 feet is enough for what you're gonna do. But
yeah, I mean, whatever he did, he was moving at a decent rate of speed for where that bike was sitting, because we were like chucking rocks off as far as we could, and I couldn't get it even close to where that bike was sitting. So he went off of that with a decent rate of speed. So he either went out in a fall of glory, or his chute came out and he glided down somewhere. But either way, that bike was a goner.
My other thought is maybe some riding group, a guy died, and they just took his bike up there and just Viking funeral that thing, just bumped it into gear and launched it. Like not the coolest move to do, but I get it.
Yeah.
Like if
Josh and I both,
if Josh died, I'd put a brick on the pedal of his Nissan, launch it over a cliff in his honor, obviously, not because it's a Nissan,
that's
just
kind.
to honor him.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know when Josh and I were looking at it, we saw it and we're like, we've got to hike to this thing and like pull a piece of the crankcase off or something and bring it back. And it looked so doable from the top. We were looking at where the one trail comes down, where we could hike about 2 miles
in. It did
in.
not look doable. You guys are like, oh yeah, we'll just. I'm like, no, dude, that's like miles. That's miles.
No. The distance was miles. Absolutely. The problem was not the distance. The problem was that from the top, we couldn't see that the bike was sitting on like a 600-foot cliff.
And then there was another ledge, and then another.
Well, there's another cliff, and then another cliff.
And
so basically, unless we wanted to rock climb up to it, there was no way you're getting to that bike.
And even then, once you get to the bike, you're not going to ride it out of there. The bike's seriously damaged.
No, but if somebody out there knows what that is, I would love to know.
Here's what
I tried. I tried Googling it and I didn't come up with anything.
I need to find somebody in Moab with one of those heavy lift drones, and they can fly down there and just bring it right back to the top.
I'm honestly curious if you'd be able to get enough rope, a length of rope that would actually reach it, if you'd be able to pull it up.
It was a long way down.
I know that's a lot of rope.
1,200 feet of rope up there, whatever. But getting the rope to it with you'd need like one of those ship to ship mooring guns that launch because
shoot it out there.
And then you'd have to grapple hook drag, because to get it, you can't throw the rope as far as a dirt bike doing 80 miles an hour over a cliff edge. The distance that bike got away from the cliff. I mean, when you take a rock and you do, unless you're like a champion shot putter, but you do a spin and hurl, a grapefruit sized rock as hard as you can, you have to look over the edge of the cliff and back down, under the cliff edge almost, to see where it lands. Partially because the way the wind works against cliffs like that, but getting it way out there is really hard.
Yeah. But so if anybody wants a fixer-upper project, it's sitting right there for you.
Well, Ryan, as I understand it, had to leave you guys because his brake pedal started going soft on that trail.
He did.
So he didn't spend the second half of the day.
Half of us just came back down the way we came up. Josh, and Cody took the alternate route, finished the loop down. And then once we got down to where the Rose Garden Hill cutoff was, we had to straighten out Cody's, was it tie bar or whatever that goes across the front of there?
Yes, I'm really struggling to come up. It's the tie rod, but the solid axle version of the tie rod. My brain's.
So what happened here? At what point of the trail was this?
Oh, that's much farther. So
okay,
then we did Rose Garden Hill, and there's some pictures of that, but that was actually pretty cool trail. And we kept going, and we're like, man, this is there's some grass growing in the middle of this gravel road. People don't do this very much. We get to this one steep downhill section, and it was gnarly. I want you guys to remember Hamburger Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Hamburger Hill on Canes. Just do that downhill 3 times, just one after the other, basically.
Yeah.
It was straight nasty.
It was intense, and it was very much on the side of a hill.
Very, very cliff edgy.
Yeah,
horrible. But we all made it down it. I went first, and they were stacking some rocks, and we were picking lines, and we got it. And then once we, it's always once you get the first vehicle through, that's okay, this is what we need to change. This is what worked, and then you just start popping them through. And we got pulled down to the bottom, and then Josh stabbed a sidewall somewhere just after that set of obstacles.
Yeah. I felt a rock come up and just bang into the wheel, and then we hear this as the wheel goes round and round. So we had to stop and throw. It only took 3 plugs to get her to seal up a little bit, so it wasn't too bad.
It held though for the rest of the trip.
There was. The guys were right in front of me
for for the rest of the time you wheeled at Moab, it held.
That's right.
Yeah.
The guys were right in front of me, and I radioed immediately and said, "Hey guys, I got a hole in my tire. Got to stop and plug it." And then I got out, found my plug kit, got to a flat area, put 3 plugs in it, and then they showed up. So, yeah, I know. I just saw that little bubble appear in front of my thumb. I don't know how I did
Are
that.
you using a phone screen or something?
No, it's my computer. How did it do that?
It's the Apple does.
Oh,
weird
it's an
things
Apple
when you-
computer. Yeah. I was like, what?
Yeah.
You just stuck your thumb up and then it did
Well,
it.
There's something with the thumb.
Didn't we have
that did it. I don't know.
balloons pop up when he said congratulations last time?
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of those on FaceTime where it does
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah. You do
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay. And yeah. Anyways, he got it fixed. And basically the road got decent-ish after that. A couple little side hill spots and stuff that were kind of cool, but that's top of the world. It's just kind of showing you how far down these guys wanted to go hike.
That's Coy's matching hat to mine that he chose not
Where's
to
top
wear.
of the world at? What part of Moab?
It's like, where is it? What do you mean?
Yeah. Like where in Moab is it? Is it closer
It's
to
not-
Canyons?
No, it's an hour out of Moab. It's east of Moab, kind of northeast of Moab, an hour. I mean, it's 38 miles from actual town of Moab.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so finished Rose Garden Hill. Then we got on Onion Creek and we're all kind of mobbing. It's just a dirt road splashing through the water. And all of a sudden I hear Josh say, my tire popped again. The patches must have blown out.
Yeah, we're cruising along this dirt trail, and as I had taken some pretty hard hits in the front, and with an IFS vehicle, it's not uncommon. You pop one of those eccentric bolts a little bit, and your alignment gets kind of out of whack. And I'm going thinking, man, it's like, it really feels like it's not steering quite right. But we're on a flat road, we're heading toward the asphalt, and we're just like, we'll just get there, and I'll take a look when we get there. And it's going, and all of a sudden you just hear this noise, and then I was like, well, I must have been running too low a tire pressure. Something happened with that tire, and I blew out a sidewall. So I let him know, hey guys, I think I did a tire. Let me hop out. And it was slightly more than a tire. In fact, it wasn't a tire at all. It was a completely disconnected lower control arm.
No,
Snapped it clean
disconnected is
off.
not the right word.
Sorry,
Disconnected
snapped.
disconnected would infer that bolts were missing or something.
Oh,
Yeah,
right,
sheared.
yeah, a sheared off lower control arm.
Yeah.
A rapid unscheduled disassembly.
Yeah, yes. So the tire went up into the fender, crunched the fender a little bit, messed up the fender liner and all that kind of stuff. But the main problem was that the wheel wasn't connected to the car anymore. But thank goodness it happened where it did. If that happened on Rose Garden Hill, I mean there would have been a call to Rory. I don't know how else we would have gotten out of there.
No,
We had a plan. We could we would have gotten you all of my parts off of my Nissan, gotten you out of there.
It just would have been a much later night.
It would have been a next day project.
So the other thing is you have Titan swapped the front, but you haven't Titan swapped the coils. So you modified and built your own mounts for the coil on the Titan arms to accept Frontier arms.
Yeah,
Right.
to front. So it's a Titan lower control arm, but I got the shocks I have were originally from a Frontier. They're Peak shocks. So I made an adjustable lower mount for the shock, so that I can adjust the the spring rate essentially by adjusting the lower point of the shock. So all of that to say I couldn't go to AutoZone or O'Reilly's and pick up another lower control arm.
Well, and
Two lower control arms.
2, yes. After that side was broken, I took a look at the other side, and it was on its way out, we'll say. So a few of the significant impacts that we hit, I think once that bump stop came in contact with its mating surface, the only thing left to give is the control arm. And it gave.
yeah, that's
So,
crazy.
yeah, a word to the people out there with Titan swapped rigs. If you're wheeling them really hard, might be something you want to reinforce a little bit. So I'm going to be building some custom lower control arms that will not break. My next thing. We got it in the shop at home now, and got the control arms off, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. We'll see.
You missed this talk. This happened before that, didn't it?
No, Well, technically, I guess, yeah, it did. So
Yeah.
Like moments before.
yeah, technically, I guess that did happen before. Poor Josh. Not
Oregon
this
Josh.
other
Yeah.
Josh. Good Josh. Oregon Josh. He was talking with me on the radio. I don't remember what we were talking about, but he was 20 feet behind me, and there was kind of a
Rocks.
big,
Probably rocks. You guys are talking about rocks.
could have been rocks. I think we're probably talking about doublers or something. But there was a big wash, and I rolled up on it, and at like 5 miles an hour, I drop into this wash, and Josh is mic'd up talking, and I have my window down, and he's directly behind me, but apparently to the left of me as well. Like I'm on the right side of the road, he's on the left side of the road. It's a dirt road, and I hear an audible crunch noise in the radio mic, like coming over the ham radio. I hear a loud metal crunch, and my window's open. I hear a metal crunch noise. I was like, what? And then he just started screaming over the. He never even let off the mic. He just like, I can't beep 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 believe this beep never coming to Moab again. There was like a spot right on the edge of the road where there had been a little ditch, and it washed into a crevice, a dirt crevice, 4 feet deep and 12 inches wide. And I didn't see it driving by, but I was like 12 feet off of it on the other side of the road. And he just drove front tire right into that, which then, because he was dropping into the wash, came down and just crushed his front fender.
Yeah,
Backfire
the corner where that wash was, like, technically his tire, I think, was still on land, and then the whole area broke off because it was all undercut.
We've got a video we can play, Ben.
Yep.
If we play it though, you'll have to edit the audio podcast for some profanity.
Second to last podcast, I don't care.
God, my truck is cool out here. Toyotas are the best. I don't know what's going on. Hey, Josh.
I'm done wheeling.
You can't park
I'm
there.
selling this and
You
I'm-
can't park
I'm
there.
done.
Oh, I guess it didn't have a curse word in that one. I thought it did.
No.
That's good.
So yeah, luckily it was the same size that he flopped it onto at Hell's Gate. And
Yeah,
he was
he added fender damage to the two doors he
he
damaged.
was like, I can't believe it. I'm gonna have to call my wife and tell her. And the next day, he just laid it on its side, got away with almost no damage, but still broke his mirror and dented his door. And then now he's got his fender. I'm like, bro, that's part of the damage. Just leave it. That's part of it. Like, just let it ride. Yeah.
I'm looking at it and I'm surprised. It looks like his headlight got away unscathed.
It
did. Barely.
So lucky. So lucky.
He's so lucky.
I'm sure that's not a cheap headlight.
Fall and crushing his fender. I'm sure Josh doesn't consider himself lucky on that.
Oh, it could be so much worse. Really could.
Well, back to the Nissan Frontier breaking the lower control arms. I was out to dinner with Ryan because he had come back early because of his brakes, and I got a message in our messenger group saying, "Hey, we need a truck and trailer out this direction. Josh had a breakdown. We got to come pick him up." And so I had just sat down with my food. We were eating at the food trucks in Moab. And so I rushed back to camp and hooked on him a trailer and just started blasting my way out of town to go rescue my buddy Josh from Ohio. And it was fun. It was a good rescue. The only not fun part about that was my tow vehicle and the trailer. I had the tire pressure aired way, way, way up because we were towing on the highway. Heavy loads, and the road going to go get to Josh was just like some dirt road that farmers use, and it was rough. It was corrugated. It had rocks poking out everywhere. It crossed a creek like 17 times, which was kind of cool.
It was
perfect for a low slung trailer.
Yeah, about 3 miles off of asphalt, and then when we got to where he was at, where he broke down was a steep downhill towards the creek. So we had to turn the trailer around in the creek at the bottom.
Yeah.
And then back it up the
hill. back
on
it
a,
uphill.
on a shelf road at night, like like
Yeah.
just ultimate with borrowed trailer.
Yeah.
We
Hard-
ended up jacking the front of the truck up with 2 jacks, taking both tires off, getting the trailer started under the front of it, setting it down, moving the jacks to the front of the truck, and then just put under its own power in 2-wheel drive, getting it the rest of the way on the trailer.
Was there a shovel under the rotor?
Yeah,
Yes,
we were
there is.
trying not to scrape. This is a borrowed trailer, and that trailing arm, or I mean that A arm, is sharp and gouging
yeah.
in the wood. So we were trying to keep it from scratching the daylights out of the wood deck on that trailer.
Yeah. It scratched up a little bit on the ride out, but not too bad. The owner, I let him know what happened, and he didn't say good or bad about it. So hopefully I'm still in his good graces.
It's just wood.
Yeah, that was a fun recovery. It wasn't too hard. It was difficult to get it set up and get everything aligned right to make it work. But it could have definitely been a whole lot worse.
Yeah. Alan's off-road jack saved us on that one.
Oh yes, it did.
I'm
That would have
gonna
been
have to get one of
significantly
those
worse.
Harbor Freight off-road jacks. Like I just gotta
Yeah.
go to it. They're awesome.
Me too.
Yeah, because we
I'm
jacked
usually-
it up on the off-road jack and then pretty much drove it about, I don't know, 5 or 10 feet out to get it in line with the trailer.
Yeah. And then to unload it from my trailer to your trailer, we backed the 2 trailers up, which had beaver tails, and we just jacked the front of it up again, and you reversed your truck onto your trailer, and we had to reset the jack at the beaver tail 4 times, but that's what it takes.
Yeah, I gotta buy one of those jacks. I'm usually trying not to buy knockoff stuff like that. Sorry to was it Pro Eagle or whoever made that original off-road jack, but I ain't paying $700 or whatever your jack costs. When
Yeah.
And we didn't really make dinner that night because it was we got back at 1 a.m. I had a bowl of stew out of the back of Rick's Frontier because he's got a full kitchen set up, and the coldest, honestly, the best silver bullet I've ever had. Just Rocky Mountain water. I've never had a Coors Light that tasted that good. So while we were waiting on Aaron to get with the trailer, I drove down to where Rick had driven down where he got cell service, and I eventually went and joined him just to help everybody get up there. And then I rode with Aaron in on his trailer.
While we were waiting at the top for everybody to come, this guy came, coolest guy ever, came up. We knew he was in a Toyota from a long ways away because we could hear this of the rear springs moving. And so he showed up in a Toyota Tacoma, and he was a hunter, and he was local to the area. And he told us how he had just recently shot an elk at 120 yards with a compound bow.
Oh.
And he said he literally just pointed it up and shot and then just waited. And
so he did the
I-
buzzer. He did the equivalent in archery hunting as a basketball buzzer throw. Just winged one in there, and there's a 1 in 1,000. You make that basket kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe it was 102. Whatever it was way farther than I would imagine shooting with a bow. But yeah, anyway, he was great. And he said, yeah, if you need to leave it here for the night, it's fine. So we gave us a backup plan. Yeah, but that was quite the night.
Then Wednesday, we dinked around kind of during the day a little bit, getting trucks moved around and stuff. Then we went and did steel bender. I can't remember if we did something else in the morning. Alan didn't stay at camp though, just Aaron. So Alan, Josh rode with me.
Me and Ryan. It shouldn't have said Alan. It should have said Aaron and Ryan.
I was like, so Aaron and Ryan stayed at camp, but Alan and the OJ Bronco, myself, Rick, and then Josh and Cody, and then Ohio Josh rode with me. We went out and did steel bender. Really cool trail.
Mm-hmm.
It has basically one obstacle that gives it like a high rating. The rest of it's pretty fun trail. But what do they call it? Dragon's Back or something like that is an obstacle on there that is you just stand your truck on end and go down next to a cliff and then
Yeah.
you turn 90 degrees and do it again.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah,
It looked sketchy watching. I was not disappointed that my truck was broken and back at camp at that point.
I'm not gonna lie, going down that first piece
Yeah.
because Alan in the Bronco, he just drives it off of things like I don't know, like it doesn't
Sends
matter.
it and then figures out how to land it later.
Yeah, he definitely improvises the landing sometimes. But then he kind of spotted me down and I kind of drove up to it and I kind of picked the straightest line and and everybody's talking about the line. I'm like, I got like my front tires off of it. I'm like, well, somebody spot me. I can't see anything but air. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then Josh, Oregon Josh kind of spot me a little bit, but then I can't see him because he's like right beside me. And then Alan is like spotting me and he's all like super, yep, right there. And he's like, all right, yeah, right there. I guess that's as good as we're gonna do. And I was like, I'm sorry, what?
What?
It's gonna get what? And I just can't. It's such steep downhill. I can't see anything.
And the hill, like you have to go down and take a 90 degree to the left, and if you go straight, it keeps going for a significant amount of time.
Then you go off a real cliff, yeah. But it's kind of a faith move. Went right down, and then the next one was actually a big ledge drop off, but there was kind of a fairly easy way to get off of it. So you got to just kind of line up the right angle and drop off. And the rest of that trail, really not that hardcore. It's a really fun trail. Falls kind of in a creek for a little while and you get a little bit of everything. It's kind of one of the reasons it's like a harder 7-mile rim in my mind. Like you get a little bit of slick rock, you're up on a fin for a little bit, you're on some ridges, then you're in some loose boulders, and there's a bunch of stair steps, and it's like it gets everything. There's a little sand. Like at one point though, Alan goes to bump up this ledge, and all of a sudden he's like putting it in reverse, and like, what's going on? We thought he grenaded his rear diff because he's now in front wheel drive, but it would catch every little bit, kind of work. I didn't know what was going on.
His pinion was spinning and his ring gear wasn't. Well, from the outside.
So I jumped in front and kind of proofed the way. And I don't know how many times me and Josh are like, we're gonna have to winch him up this, and he'd just walk up it. Like I don't even know.
In front wheel drive.
Yeah, if you hadn't told me he was in 4-wheel drive with no rear axle power, I couldn't have known. I would just think he was driving aggressively because he did have to carry some speed sometimes.
I just kept seeing the front wheels pull and hop, and that dinky little tie rod just kind of flexing in and out every time he came up one of those bumps. And I was just waiting. I was like, one of these times the thing's got to just fold. And it didn't. It just kept on working its way up.
I'm starting to like that twin beam more and more.
I know.
Yes. I know he talks crap about it because he wants a solid axle swap. I'm like, that twin beam's pretty cool. It's unique.
It's amazingly durable.
It's a lot stronger than I thought it would be. So yeah, we finished that trail out, met some side by sides on the way in, talked to them for a little bit. But I can't say, dude, if you're in Moab and you want to do steel bender and you got a couple guys, there's one spot that's nasty and the rest of it's pretty good. And especially if you're going downhill on that, you can spot each other down it. If it's too much, you can turn around and just go right back out. Like you're not committed to it when you get to that nasty spot. And it's not a super long trail. I think, was it 15 miles total? 10 miles total?
It was something like that. Yeah, it was kind of hard to tell because some people were saying it was that the trail that the numbers kept being thrown out for how long it actually was?
No, that was
the following day.
And there's a shortcut version on it. You can shorten it up and change it and make it loopy. And anyways, it exits over by Ken's Lake though. So we went down to Ken's Lake, which is basically an old rock pit as far as I can tell, but it's campground. We went ahead and aired up there. Some of the guys jumped in the water, but Lifeline Fat Alan says twin beam is awesome unless you're in a slot or like a notch. That's true. If you're in like a Hell's Revenge, that twin beam just tries to walk itself down steeper and steeper.
Yeah, I was able to. Alan guided me up escalator, and my Frontier went up pretty well. And then he's like, "All right, I got to do it now." And yeah, he totally would have driven it if he had a solid front. But every time he tried to get those sidewalls up on the edges, the twin beam just folded in.
Yeah.
And really doesn't work well for that.
But yeah, we ended up going swimming. Went out. We didn't go swimming at Kins Lake. We went into the hiked into the waterfall. There's some pictures. This is
Mill Creek.
yeah. It's like the only clean water in Moab, as far as I'm aware. But it was an awesome little swimming hole.
Yeah, that was really cool. It didn't even have fish that bit you.
Yeah, but it was
no, there were fish. There were fish in it, and they nibbled on me.
Oh, did they? Okay.
It was about
Yeah.
a mile hike, and it was sandy and kind of whatever. It's not the best hike, but it's I'm a fat guy, and I walked in there. I grumbled the whole time, but I still did it.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
It was a fun spot. I went to it 2 days in a row.
I was just told it was an easy hike, so I wore my sandals, and yeah, it's just like river bottom and sand and mud and up shelves, and I was highly regretting wearing sandals in there.
Gotcha.
So it wasn't a bad hike though. Then we went out to the Moab Diner. You know, it's like a 60s diner, and all got food there. Gorged ourselves. It was quite delicious. Had what is supposed to be the best green chili sauce in Moab.
I had a banana split for dessert while I was there. That hit the spot. I did not regret that.
You strike me as the kind of guy that likes to eat bananas.
I do. They're full of potassium. They're good for your body. All right. Well, Thursday. So I didn't wheel the last 2 days. I didn't wheel Tuesday or Wednesday. Worked on my rig. Never figured out this ECU issue or whatever was going on. But I had to do Canes Creek. That was definitely on my bucket list. And I figured Canes Creek's not going to have a lot of like challenging, not a lot of challenging uphills. It would have some shelves and stuff like that, and I would just have to deal with it, clear the code, and move on. But most of the time, Canes Creek, you're just down in the river bottom crossing, going back and forth. So that's pretty much what Canes Creek was. Gravel road to get to it. You jump on the Canes Creek entrance. It was a little tough. Not hard, but a little tough getting down into Canes Creek. You got to dodge some obstacles. Recent mudslides have changed things a little bit. There's some new rocks in places. A couple of the spots, people said there's no way we're getting through it. It's too tight. And my truck and Oregon Josh's Tacoma are both basically the same size trucks, longest rigs there. And we both made it through without touching paint on any rock. So I believe in you if you're out there and you want to do it.
Like 2 miles in, there's a real narrow boulder rock spot that it's kind of one of the obstacles or whatever, depending on what kind of rig you had. But we all made it through there. I mean, pretty flawlessly. Everybody had sliders, so we all just kind of rotated around it. But Coy
put a dent in his rig. Coy, what dented your rig of all the wheeling in Moab? What of all the rock, hard rock, red rock, slick rock?
I went to Moab to get dented by a stick. Yeah. That wasn't a stick.
Of all the things in the world that you could hit, you hit a stick.
Well, I don't. If it was here, I'd call it like manzanita brush or something. I don't know what it is called there. It's that kind of like
it was a stick that was about this big around though.
It's a nasty thicket, and like the base stump of it gets 4 inches around or whatever, up a couple feet. And there was a turn. You went through all this brush, and then there was a turn, and then it's been high banked to the point where a regular rig is about to roll on it. It's just a tiny little ding there. You can see right behind my suicide door on there on the rear quarter. But I started going around it, and I thought I had it, and then it slipped down a little bit, was touching it, and then we ended up actually having to cut that little. It had already been cut once, but we had to cut it off to get it off of me.
So
and we all just drove through.
I'm going to jump ahead in time here on our story. When we were all done at Canes Creek, we were headed to Mill Creek one more time for a final dip before dinner. And I ran into our buddy Farron, who's a Oregonian. He's the one we mentioned last week who had that 5th gen 4Runner that's pretty sweet. And he was in Moab for a couple weeks just wheeling on his own. I ran into him in a parking lot, and so I was chatting with him, and I saw on the side of his truck, and here's a picture, he had a new crease in his 4Runner, and you can see it goes all the way down his rear driver's door and his rear quarter panel, and it's like 3.5 feet long, and it's a big, deep gouge dent.
Yeah, it was a gouge.
I was like, what happened to your rig, dude? He's like, oh, I ran Canes Creek yesterday and there was this bush and I thought I was all good and I just rubbed against it and it just folded in the sheet metal of my truck. And I was like, that started to happen to us too, but we got a saw out and we cut it. He's like, I didn't realize it until after I'd gotten around the corner and it had already ruined his truck. So yeah,
that's brutal.
So I got two of us, kind of.
yeah.
Then I was leading. Alan was riding with me because his Bronco was down from the ring gear bolts shearing, and I was driving through just a little creek bed part, and I saw there was a little boulder I was going to bump over, but it didn't look anything special, and I was 4 or 5 miles an hour. I wasn't going fast, and there must have been kind of a hole in front of it. I hit that thing and it slammed so hard, and I immediately was like, "Oh, that's something." It hit so hard that I was like, I did something. And Alan's like, is it steering right? And I rolled down the window, kind of gave her a back and forth. I'm like, oh, it's still steering. And then I could hear pss, pss, pss. So I got a sidewall puncture on the old Mickey Thompson. We busted out the glue tread, ground down the lettering and stuff with an angle grinder. Had to use a cutting wheel as a paddle, but it worked. We got it glued on there. The first time I did it, I'd heard always like to use less glue than you think. Apparently I didn't think as much glue as other people because it was not near enough glue. So then we put some more glue on it, put the I don't remember what it's called, the stuff that makes it dry faster on there. Accelerator, thank you. And it held there for the rest of the trip. We continued on, got to Hamburger Hill. Hamburger Hill is a very nasty little hill. It's definitely the worst part of that whole trail.
So this picture is leading up to Hamburger Hill. This is not Hamburger Hill, or maybe it is, and there's just that one big ledge at the top of all of it. So maybe it's all Hamburger Hill.
I would say it's all Hamburger Hill, but this is the entrance of it. And so people know it kind of gets worse every year. Like you used to be able to easily do this in like a stock.
This is looking down from the same spot.
It looks so much easier in those pictures than it is in real life.
Yeah, it looks a whole lot easier going down than up, like the picture down.
Yeah.
So right where,
to jump back just a second, do you have a gash in between your Baja and the Legend below your arm in this picture? Is that a gash in the side of your tire as well?
Yeah. That's been there for like a year though. It's not deep. It's just a little cut. Yeah, I think I did that on some lava rock. It's not a gash, but yes, there is a little mark there.
So in this picture where Coy's stopped, the ledge that he's about to climb is the last big obstacle on this hill, or on this section of hill. There's still more obstacles to climb and ledges, but this was like the hardest portion in my opinion. And this is that ledge Coy's on right there.
You got to kind of climb it at a funky angle. As me and Alan, my winch quit working on earlier in the week. So it was a little dumb of us, but I was in the lead. We're like, should we let somebody with a working winch around? And I was like, well, let me go put my tires on it. And I can always just back off of it, let them by. Because you come up to this ledge kind of at an angle. And then I got my tires on it, gave her the old beans, and then your truck rotates 35 degrees to where you can't back off of it really very well. Anyways. So I was kind of blocking the main obstacle. And so we got Cody and we had to get him around. There's kind of a side path right along the cliff edge, get him around me, then get him to the top. And then he winched me up. And then we just used Cody's truck and winched everybody up this ledge. Did anybody drive up it without being winched?
No, we winched. I think we decided to winch everybody.
Yeah. And
Did
then
you get turtled on it?
Me?
Yeah, were you turtled?
No, I could back up, but there was no place for me to back up to. Like,
gotcha.
The rig, once you got, you have to kind of do it that you have to hit that ledge not squared up on it. You got to be at a little bit of an angle. But as soon as you get to a certain part, your back end will just rotate around until it's squared up. If I had a front locker and just gave it a little bit. Honestly, even if I did it again tomorrow, I think I could make it. I would just once you hit the right line in the beginning, you gotta give it the juice. Like you gotta commit.
You don't back off.
So I think I could probably do it if I just with the knowledge I have now, but no, I'm not the kind of guy that just absolutely commits to the throttle the first time I do something. So, and if I had a front locker, I think I probably could have got up it even from there. But yeah. So then Aaron's truck, we had to go old school. Why don't you take over that part? Because I'm not really sure what happened, but we had to bust out a high lift jack at some point.
So yeah, this picture here, I was spotting myself because everybody was at the top of Hamburger Hill, spotting myself, and I had the same thing happen that Coy did, where my rear end slipped, and this is the only picture I have, but you can kind of see my rear bumper is in a valley between two rocks. And I couldn't go forward or backwards because my bumper was essentially locked in place. So we broke out the high lift jack. We jacked up underneath my receiver, and we just tipped the high lift jack over to the passenger side, and it plopped me far enough out of those rocks that I was unstuck again and could continue on my line. So, and shortly after that, I was working my way up, and I was practically to the last obstacle. I think I actually was to that last obstacle, the shelf, and my truck went into that limp mode again. And when I went to clear the codes, it said, "Not this time, sucker." And it gave me 3 error codes instead of just 1, which is really bad that I couldn't clear any of them, because that meant that now I had to be winched up every obstacle after that obstacle, towed on any uphill section. I still had 1,000 RPM of throttle, so on any flat section or downhill, I could drive my truck, I could steer my truck, it would upshift, things like that. But it was definitely a problem, and set us back an hour or two of our wheeling time that day. And guess who, Ben, after listening to all of our talking, what rig do you think towed me through the rest of Canes Creek?
The Bronco?
No.
Coys?
The Xterra. The Xterra.
You're
the
like
little
only-
Xterra that could.
Yeah, both Broncos were broken by this point.
Both Broncos were broken. Both Frontiers were broken. Currently on the trail broken.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
So for I don't know, for quite a while I was either being pulled by a strap or I was being winched up and over obstacles. And about every 10 minutes I would try to reset my ECU, and finally it did reset, and I was able to finish the trail under my own power. And
where it reset though, we are like, we don't want it to go off again. We're going to winch you up this last hill, drops down the creek and back up. That was the last obstacle. Essentially, there was nothing of substance.
No, there was a couple hills that I had to climb, and it did go into limp mode again.
But there were
I
no
did most of it
serious.
I did most. Yeah, there was nothing serious. I did most of it in 2-wheel drive. So, it says Wings of Redemption is bringing his Trail Boss next year. Trail Boss, as far as I know, is a full-size Chevy Silverado.
Do they have a Colorado Trail Boss? I don't think so. No, that's the ZR2.
So. Yeah, I don't think so either. So, good luck with the Trail Boss out there in Moab.
Do we know this guy, Wang Chung?
I don't, but maybe Badlands does.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah,
it's going to be challenging in a few spots with a full size for sure. Right off the bat, getting past that one boulder is going to be quite something. And then there's a new slide, maybe 3/4 of a mile past.
Oh, that's right.
3/4 of a mile past Hamburger Hill, and it's in a tight spot, and it's a big rock that dropped down off this cliff. And that's not it.
I don't have a picture of it. I was just rotating through some more.
Okay, but yeah, it took we all got through it. There was some group on some like military training group on like military side by sides that rolled through all ski masked up and stuff. And they were saying it was going to be super challenging for us. And it wasn't like super easy, but we all got through.
Yeah. I got winched through it. It wasn't too tight that I couldn't be winched through without having any issues. So
yeah, he still wasn't under his own power.
Yeah.
We got out.
I was happy. Yeah, I was happy that I completed it. I know I had to be winched for part of it. I know my truck, if it didn't have those issues, would have been able to make those obstacles also. So
yeah. We took off, went in and had one last night at the creek. Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, that's sorry, Alan, for that photo.
Hey, is what it is.
Yeah.
Love this. I've fallen in love with this creek. And while I don't like doing Moab in the intense heat, like I want to kind of go back about the same time if I go back again so that I can enjoy this creek. Like,
yeah. Creek was amazing.
Yeah. Cool trail. It definitely bit me. Got it. Josh, Oregon Josh, hit the same rock that I popped my tire on, and he moved something in that IFS, and his steering was all out of whack. And since the steering wheel then wasn't straight, it was like thinking he was sliding and like sending all kinds of error codes. But we got into town, did a little swim, then we went for margaritas, man. I just slammed two like Blue Power something margaritas. I told Josh, you're driving me back. Like this was basically trail. And I went full white girl, as you guys know I like to do, the pumpkin spice and everything, and I went white girl on like fishbowl margaritas. Got a huge plate. I got like 2 chimichangas with rice and beans, and it was they brought it out on like one of those oil changing plates, like a cookie sheet, a pizza sheet. I don't know. There were multiple times where I was like, I don't think I can eat it all. And I was like, man, something deep inside of me from my parents forcing me to finish my food as a child. I can't. I will finish food that I don't like eating. Like I'm like, this tastes horrible. I'm finishing it. I can't leave it. So
There's
I cleaned the plate
in Africa.
Yeah, exactly. So I cleaned that thing off, man. That was a huge meal though. That I don't remember the name of that Mexican food joint, but it was premier. I quite enjoyed it.
It was good. Parking was tough.
Parking was tough.
Yeah, but we did it.
It was limited for sure.
Limited parking, especially if you're in a crew cab long bed dually.
Yep. I found a pile of sand and I drove up on a pile of sand out. So from that recent storm, that parking lot must have got flooded with dirt and dust and sand and grit, and they just shoved it all into one parking spot like they do with snow. In big parking. So I just drove up on that with my truck.
I think they put that out there so they know whose food to spit in. He's one of those guys.
Hawk to it. Yeah, well, even their spit in their Mexican food was excellent. I really enjoyed my food. And Farron joined us also, so that I had ran into him at that parking lot on our way to the creek, and I talked to him and told him I'd send him a text where we're eating dinner. So he got to join us for dinner, so that was fun.
The only downside of eating there is like we sat on a table that was 90 miles long, and there was like 9 of us. So I was at like the very end, so I missed out on like I could tell you guys were having a good time down there, and I wanted to run down there, but I was like, screw it, I'm gonna pound these fishbowl margaritas and just get in my own world for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Friday was our last day in Moab. We only had that campsite until Friday, so everybody took their time packing up, getting ready to head home. I think we all hit the road to head towards home around
11.
11, except for Josh.
Yeah, we hit about 6:30.
Yeah, Josh from Ohio said, I'm going to be out of here at 6. I'll be waking up at 5:30. And so I set my alarm because I wanted to give him a hug and a kiss goodbye. So I set my alarm for 5:45, and I get up. He's still asleep in the back of his truck. He isn't up, liar. He's lying to me. He made me get up early for no reason. So I climbed into my Nissan and I recline the seat in the Nissan so I could keep an eye on his truck. And I like close my eyes, and now it's getting cold on my Nissan. I grabbed my beach towel and I wrapped up in my beach towel. I was like a homeless person, Josh, waiting for you so I could say goodbye.
Well, we got up. We were driving. We drove 17 hours that day, so we were trying to. I was trying to get all rested up and ready to go for the journey.
You can't count that you crossed time zones as part of your
we
hours
didn't.
that you drove.
That doesn't count. We were in the car for 17 hours.
Yeah.
I
So
saw his father-in-law putting diapers on before they left. So you there going full astronaut on that road trip.
we're not stopping for nothing. We got 2 fuel tanks. We can do it.
There was seaweeds everywhere.
Coy and I had decided that we're going to take a different route home, and we decided to make it a hot springs tour on our way home. And we had found out somehow Coy had found out about this hot spring in Utah called Meadow Hot Springs, and a super neat hot springs, private land, 3 different hot pots to jump into. But on the way there, we were probably half an hour away. I was kind of navigating. I'm like, okay, in 3 miles, we're going to take the next exit, and it's there's a gas station. That's where we'll get gas. And we were coming right up on an exit. And as soon as I let go of the microphone, because sometimes when I'm talking on the radio, I like throw several extra words that aren't needed. I'm just jacking my jaw. As soon as I let go, I hear Coy say, "Take this exit. I got a flat tire." You're like waiting to get it out because I wouldn't shut up.
We're coming up on an exit, and Aaron's talked to me, and you hear that like 22 report, like papa, and I look in the mirror, and I see some chunks. I'm like, I got a flat tire. I'm like, nice. There's an exit right here, and Aaron's just on the mic, and I'm like, I need to talk to you, like, and he's like, just get, and he finally lets off. I'm like, take the exit right out, and he cat-like reflexes. He whipped over with the trailer. But I had a full-size spare, and so we threw it on. I don't know why it blew.
20 minutes. It was quick. It was like a
With
NASCAR pit stop.
Do trailers have anything else but full-size spares?
Well, I'm just
That's
used
a
to
good
saying
question.
I'm just saying I had a spare. I guess they all have full-size, but like I have aluminum wheels on my trailer to match. And my spare, it's not just some steely stuck off the side. It's another matching aluminum wheel. So when I say full size, like you can't tell that I changed the tire or anything. So
full expense spare.
Yeah, expense spare.
So we got that tire changed, jumped back on the highway for 3 more miles to the gas station exit, fueled up, and as we're pulling out of the gas station, Coy's like, he gets on the mic. He's like, "Hey, you see that across the road? You see what that says?" Yeah, I did see that. Coy's like, we should go check that out. And I don't remember. Oh, I took a picture of it, but we didn't upload it. Tell us about it, Coy, while I look up the name of it.
It was literally a soda pop shop. Like, I don't remember the exact name of it, but it was like old school, like custom soda. So we go in there. It's Guzzle Soda Shack. That was the name of it. It was a soda shack. It's got a drive-through and stuff, but it's part of like a strip mall. So we whip in there and like, hey, what's up? And she's like, got this whole book on the counter. Like, tell me what you want. She gal me. I got I don't remember what it was called, but it was a Dr. Pepper with raspberry and cream put in it. Ooh. And it was delicious. I mean, it was like $8 for a 44 ounce. It wasn't cheap. Delicious. If they had one of those around here, I'd go there a couple times a month, get me something. And I mean, there were hundreds of different ones you could try. So I mean, they had made them with Monster energy drinks, all kinds of stuff. Aaron, you got a root beer?
Yeah, mine was root beer with caramel, and I can't remember. It had another thing in it, and then she accidentally put cream in it, and she's like, "Hey, I can remake it for you." I'm like, "I've never had it before. I don't know what it's supposed to taste like. Let's give it a whirl." And same thing. It was really tasty. It was probably like 1,900 calories for that one drink. It may have been 4,000 calories. I don't know. It was very sweet, but it was tasty.
Was the caramel like caramel sauce or like caramel coffee flavoring? Was it like
I'm assuming assuming it was a caramel flavoring, like
Oh.
you would
And it-
put in
it
like your
had-
coffee drinks and stuff.
Toasted marshmallow, I want to say, was the other one.
Oh yeah, it had. That's right. It had toasted marshmallow was the other flavor. Yeah.
Oh, Alan just jumps in and says soda shacks are the Utah version of Dutch Bros because Mormons can't drink coffee.
Well, Mormons can't drink caffeine, so that doesn't make sense that they've got these soda places because
there's sodas without caffeine though.
certainly, but most soda has caffeine.
Yeah.
But you can also have coffee without caffeine.
Yeah.
It's true.
I feel like the whole point of like Dutch Bros and stuff is to get caffeine that tastes like a milkshake. So I don't get it if you're not getting the caffeine, but it was cool. If there was one local to me, I'd hit it up. I don't understand how she's in business. But rent
Must be
strip
cheap.
mall must be way cheaper in
Yeah.
Utah.
And Coy had mentioned Josh hitting that rock and bumping his alignment out. Josh on his way home, Oregon Josh stopped in Salt Lake City at a Les Schwab, I think, and got an alignment done on his truck so he could make it home.
Did he do you know if he bent like one of his cam tabs or if it was just
I'm pretty sure he bent a cam tab and twisted the bolt.
They got
Church changed the rule on caffeine. Now it's only coffee.
he got a purple nurple on his alignment, is what I heard. The purple nurple. So, here's some pictures of Meadow Hot Springs. This is the road leading to it. It was a nice road until you got to the hot springs and it was rough. Here, I'll do this picture first. This is the first one that we pulled up to was full of fish. I don't know if they're tropical or not, but the water was like bathtub warm. It's probably 80, 85 degree water. And then the second one we rolled up to had this family in it. Same thing, bathtub warm water.
And I mean, you can see how clear it is. That second one's probably 15 feet deep. The deepest
Probably,
one?
yeah.
Somewhere in there,
Yeah.
quite deep.
It's kind of shaped like a wonky
Gummy bear.
No, like
Oh.
a ice cream cone, like a sugar cone. It's conical as it goes up.
Yeah, it's
It
funnel.
gets bigger at the top. Yeah, funnel shaped. There we go. That's the
It's
word.
like a melted gummy bear.
Yeah. And for some
they're-
reason, we don't have a picture of the third one.
These are like old vents. Like, I mean, is essentially what they look like if you ever been to like a vent. of any kind.
Yellowstone.
Yeah.
The third one we went to was 98 degrees, and the internet said it was 30 feet deep. The water was a little low. One of the guys that was there said the water was
25. That's what he said.
25. Sorry, this isn't that family. So this is the third one. This was
that
the
is the
two
third one.
lawyers.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the third one. So this one is 25 feet deep. You can see underneath the girl on the left. It's just a black hole down there. So
That one's like a perfect 98 degrees. You can stay in it for like hours. I like them a little hotter than that, but like,
yeah,
it was pretty good. That's the got a picture here of the trailer set up. We got the Oscar fire pit out and the scuttle. We made some street taco burgers. It's kind of a new thing that I do a lot now because they're delicious. We wandered back over to the hot deep one. Thought we were gonna have to get in a battle with some locals. So that was cool.
yeah.
I was really drunk old guys came up and just wanted to run their Jeep 3 feet away from everybody's towels and cell phones and stuff sitting on the side. There was another older guy in there that started talking crap back and forth. Where are you from? Right here, right now. Where are you from? Well, I'm from right here, right now. I mean, the dude had to have been like 70, and just clearly drunk. Kept repeating the same story, telling us how he used to be able to swim out some side tunnel to a secret cavern. First it was one direction, then another, but after they put the gas pipeline in, it filled it in. I don't know what he's even talking about. Tried to explain how it's cool that people come all over, but he's been there forever.
Yeah.
I don't know. So
I brought a rock and a chem light glow stick and some paracord, and I tied the paracord to the rock with a little 1 foot tail, and I tied the chem light to that because the chem light floats, and I lowered it down into the bottom of it, and it was a green chem light, and so it was super cool. So it's nighttime now, the moon is barely out, and you could just see it glowing as it goes down, and it's just kind of glowing from the real bottom. So that was kind of fun trick.
Got up, left in the morning, and started our longest drive of the whole trip. I think, at least the way home part of the trip, to Virgin Valley. If you've listened to the podcast a long time, it's easily Googleable. It's just kind of it's almost like a swimming pool, hot spring campground area. When we went by the Bonneville Salt Flats last time we went through there, you could pull out on the salt flats, and they have completely closed that. It's kind of like a rest stop area. You could pull out, you could just drive, like it was like a boat ramp that went onto the salt flats.
Yeah.
It's just they have it all closed off. Like me and Aaron were planning on driving out there and taking some cool pictures, and I took like 2.5 selfies and kind of got one shot of my truck with the salt. I'm actually pretty disappointed that I really wanted to pull my truck trailer set up. Like I really wanted that photo. Like I would have rather had that one. What's that?
Was it closed seasonally or just closed?
It looked closed. I'm sure there's other spots you can drive out there, but like I'm blowing by on the freeway. Like I'm not gonna. But used to, you could just drive out there. So I assume that has something to do because that is like right on the speedway area of the Bonneville Salt Flats. So probably has something to do with that. Probably somebody went out and did big burnouts and made holes that then had to be filled in or something. I'm sure it was somebody in a side-by-side or something horrible.
Ben, we don't get to... You haven't got to talk much because you didn't come on this trip, so I want to try to interact with you here a little bit. So have you ever hit a bird while you're driving?
Yes.
With your vehicle, like bird strike or whatever?
I hit
like
a crow with my JK. And
I
had not realized how greasy crows were in Federal Way because it left, like you could see his head, beak, and one of his wings on my windshield after I hit him.
Yeah. Well, I had a bird strike on this leg of the trip shortly after the Salt Flats, I think. No, it was before we got to the Salt Flats. That's right, because the GPS had taken us on some real back roads. It was pretty fun. We got to see some things that you don't normally get to see, including like some Pony Express stops, which was pretty cool. But so I had a bird strike. Biggest bird I've ever hit to date. It was a turkey vulture. Ooh. And turkey vulture. It was, imagine a bowling ball made out of meat with some feathers glued to the outside of it. That's what hit the windshield of my wife's pickup truck at 65 miles an hour.
Oh my.
So he didn't live.
He did, actually, as it turns out. So it struck right at the windshield wipers and then flipped up and over. I don't know if it hit the Nissan as it continued on. Here's
it came clear over the Nissan doing some floppy stuff. It didn't touch anything.
Here you can see the dust impact on the windshield of my wife's truck.
Knocked the dust off of it into
yeah.
It came flying over, and I seen 2 or 3 birds scatter, and I seen the one come flying over after Aaron hit it. My wife hit a much smaller bird of prey, and it totaled her car because it hit. I was certain that Aaron's windshield was shattered, and he was going to be driving home with his head out the window.
Wearing his goggles.
Yeah. And now I'm not saying that I personally don't condone violence toward endangered or protected species, but hypothetically, if you were in this situation and this bird comes flipping over and you're like, you just messed up his wife's truck, ruined our trip on the way home. If my trailer swung over and got him, like I wanted to make sure hypothetically that he had no misery. Like he did just get struck by a windshield at 65 miles an hour. So, getting ran over by a trailer with 7,000 pounds, it's pieces after that. So we took
It
care
is
of.
pizza.
We leveled the playing field.
Then we hit the fireworks store. Bought nothing because there's fireworks aren't legal for us to have here. Well, some of them are, but just the boring ones. So we just kind of visited. It was also a museum, so we were more there for the museum stuff. And then after the fireworks store, we made it to Virgin Valley, and this is the Virgin Valley.
I still talk to my wife about going to Virgin Valley. I'm like, it's an excuse just to go. Like literally, that's my excuse to go.
Yeah.
Josh, you got a jet, man. I know it's like
Yeah, I got to get rolling. It's
right.
it's approaching
Did you have
tomorrow.
Did you have anything left over that from your drive home that you need to talk about, or was your drive home smooth?
No, it's pretty uneventful. Honestly, it went
Oh.
really well. The alternator went out in the OBS Ford about 8 hours from home, I'd say. So we just kind of swapped batteries with the Frontier. It probably had 200,000 miles on it, so thankfully it was a post battery just like I had in the Frontier. So we swapped those, kept going,
So
picked up a battery charger. And
I was gonna say, did you let the Nissan just run to charge the battery while
yes,
you drove?
I had the Nissan literally just idling on the trailer.
I love it.
And then I realized that it was idling back there, and the Nissan was on my trailer backwards, and we're just going down the highway. And after because we drove for like an hour or two, and it's just running. Then I was like, oh shoot, like it might be overheating because there's like no air going into the grill because
no airflow. Yeah,
but it was okay. So yeah, it charged up the battery for us, and then we swapped it over. And but yeah, nothing major. I replaced the alternator when I got home, and it's good to go. So
you got it. You got a new license plate frame out of this trip.
I did. I woke up to a nice surprise, and I wasn't aware, but apparently my truck did survive Cash for Clunkers.
Yeah.
So
that was
good.
One of the few pranks. One of the few pranks from the trip was that Josh got a license plate frame. Well, Josh, thanks for coming on.
Hey, appreciate it, guys. I'll catch you next week.
Yep. Have a good evening.
All right, thanks.
We're gonna keep talking. We're not done talking.
All right, sounds good. All right, we'll see you there.
I gotta mention Rick. He said, "What, you stopped to read a sign?" Because Rick's done trips with Aaron, I, and Ben, and he likes to read every sign. That's totally fine. We didn't stop to read a sign after he hit the turkey vulture. I was like, we gotta pull over next spot and make sure there's no damage, like see what's going on. And where we pulled over happened to be a wide spot that used to be a spot where the Pony Express like switch riders or whatever. So that was interesting.
And how did we come across that? Well, I was taking a leak on the side of the road, and I looked over my shoulder. There was a sign, and we're like, "Oh, this is a Pony Express thing." I took a picture. I didn't actually read it. I took a picture of it, so I've got the picture on my phone. I still haven't read it, Rick. So
I'll send it to you so you can read it and tell us what it
said. Rick says I was just bragging that I know how to read.
You probably peed where many like hardcore Pony Express guys, because they're switching out riders. You probably peed the exact same spot as some crazy cowboys and stuff.
You're probably right.
You're like urine brethren or whatever we call that.
Urine brother. It's like blood brothers, but with urine.
Yeah.
Here, Rick, I just sent it to our Facebook Messenger group, so you can read it and tell me what it says. We had a good time. We had a good time at Virgin Valley. Not many people got into the hot springs, and it filled up. And since the last time I was there, which was only at Thanksgiving time, it feels like they cut in 50% more campsites and everything. And that campsite was packed.
It was like 50% full, I feel like.
No, after dark, they kept showing up and pulling in. Yeah, there was a whole bunch. There's a whole bunch there after dark. It was packed.
We cut out pretty early. We left 6:30, I think, the next morning.
Yeah, that was going to be another big push of a day because we want to be home around 3 o'clock or so. So that's so for anybody that is wondering where Virgin Valley is, that is like the northwest Nevada, right at the Oregon border. So you traverse along the Oregon-Nevada border for a while, pop into Oregon, and the first town you hit is a little tiny town called Adele. They got a gas station and some food there. And then on to Lakeview. And as soon as we crossed into Oregon, what'd the weather do, Coy?
Oh, it started raining. So
yeah, it starts raining. Yeah,
classic.
We've left Oregon. Yeah, classic Oregon. Start raining on you. You've been gone the whole time. Nice
in
weather
a
the whole
section
time
of
you're
Oregon
gone.
that supposedly never gets rain, but just to welcome
Yeah.
us back, it's like, hey, thought you guys were gone for a week. Boom, rain. Like, yeah, it's classic Oregon.
You're gonna, yeah. Yep. So we stopped for fuel and breakfast in Lakeview, and then from Lakeview we chug along up over a mountain range to get to a town called Silver Lake, and outside of Silver Lake is where Coy and me and my Yamhill buddies have done our snow camping trips. Thompson Reservoir.
Yep. So at some point I was on my rear tank, which I do have issues with occasionally, but it my fuel filter light came on, so I switched her to front tank, and normally that just clears everything up. We just continue on. It kind of was running crappy, and then of course immediately start winding up a hill, and it's running worse and worse and worse, and I get to the very top of the hill and I just pull it over and it dies. So I pull the fuel filter, and there's 1.5 to 2 inches of rust in my fuel filter bowl. A lot of rust, like particles, chunks. So clearly my back tank is rusted out. And so we cleaned that all out as best we could, and we took the filter and put an air hose on it and kind of cleaned it out. We got it started again, and it was kind of running okay. It wasn't perfect, but it was running. Took off again, and we made it, I don't know, 3 to 5 miles farther, not very much farther. And it just slower and slower and slower till I came to a pretty much complete stop. Kind of half pulled off the road. Aaron Googled how far away Silver Lake was. It's 9 miles. You could see the road was flat. So Aaron was pulling triples. He had a strap hooked to his trailer to my truck, which was still pulling my trailer, and he flat towed me. Yeah, there it is. He flat towed me into Silver Lake. I told him, get me to Silver Lake. If I have to leave it or whatever, it'll be fine.
Don't tell the state I did not have my triples endorsement for this poll. So yeah, it was 10 miles. It was mostly flat. And it may have been a little bit downhill, but it was mostly flat. And the old Ford knew that she had a load behind her on that one.
That's well over the limit. He got me in there, and we kind of screwed around. I had him stay hooked up to me. I unloaded the FJ, and then I dropped my trailer, and then had him pull enough, because my FJ can tow that trailer if it's empty. So I figured worst case scenario, I can get my trailer home and then come back with another truck and trailer the Ford home. And he had to work the next day. I didn't, so I had time. So he kind of hung out for a minute, and I was like, "You just get out of here, man. Like I got this. I got a running vehicle.
Go on,
go do your thing. Get on." So, anyways, I did some Googling while I had service, and then I took off. I drove into Lapine, and where I purchased, I actually got 2 more fuel filters just so I could stash one in the truck as an extra. And then I bought a new fuel pump, because I believe the fuel pump is between the tank and the filter. So if you're running crap out of the tank, it goes through your fuel pump. And my fuel pump, luckily, I had it replaced a month and a half, 2 months ago, which I'm a little disappointed that they charged me so much for it. But I was able to do it on the side of the road in about the same amount of time that it took them. Got all the parts. I had to buy a big 1.25-inch wrench, because there's a banjo nut on the back of the pump that's 1.25 inches. Watched a bunch of videos, drove back. Tear the fuel. I got the fuel bowl off, tore it all apart, got it all cleaned out, got some carb clean, and just got all the rust out of it. There's the fuel rail stuff there. Got that all cleaned out, made sure it was all clean, and then I went to try and get the actual fuel pump off. It's a mechanical fuel pump, and it's in the valley between the 2 heads, and it's kind of under the turbo halfway. And everywhere online, like if you got a wrench, you could just barely get it off. But after looking at it, the turbo stand or turbo pedestal on a 90, all the videos are like 97s, but the 95 is just a little bit different. Instead of arching right there, it goes straight across at an angle, and you lose about 3/8 of an inch or so, which was what you needed. And I messed with it.
That's the last thing Coy needs to do is lose 3/8 of an inch. I tell you
the
what.
story of my life. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna tow it home. Like I'm just gonna hook my stuff up. I'm gonna tow it home. So, and as this is going on, there's a fire out there somewhere. So everybody in the local area is like coming to check out the fire camp, and old guys are rolling by like, "Oh, are you okay?" I'm like, "I got it." You know, they're all like kind of half offering to help, but they can see like I'm pretty deep into the motor. Like I got parts out. I'm laying across it. Like I'm pretty much in there. They can see out. And a couple old timers they come poke around. They mostly just slowed me down, honestly, but they were showing concern. I'm gonna be fine, dude. I got, I'll come back and get it tomorrow, as long as you think it's gonna be safe here. We're kind of around behind the gas station. And then a guy that lived right there pulled up, and my FJ, after driving to La Pine and back, that patch on my tire started failing, and it's like the front tire's leaking down. So I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to jack it up, swap that out before I go home. But he pulls up and he's like, "Hey man, I live right here. I got an air compressor." This is an older guy, 70 or something. "I got an air compressor. You need some air." I'm like, "Oh no, I got air on board." Like, that truck's fine. This is the one I'm working on. I kind of talk with him a little bit, and he BS's with me, and I told him what's going on, and it's like, there's a bolt on this. I can't get this wrench in there. I need to bend this wrench in a weird way and stuff. And even then, I don't know if I can get it. So I'm gonna put the fuel bowl back on. Maybe it was just plugged up. Maybe my fuel pump is okay, even though I'm pretty sure it's not. If it starts, it starts. If not, I'll just go get a trailer. So he's all right. And his house is 400 feet away. So he leaves. I put the fuel bowl back on, put it all back together. And I crank it up, and it's not hitting a lick. So I'm like, well, I start loading up my tools. And then he comes walking over there and he says, "I got a boy, and he's really into these trucks like this." And I was like, "Oh yeah." And he's like, "He works on them a lot. I bet he has the tool that you need." I was like, "Oh." He's like, "I'm gonna call him and you explain what you need." So he calls his boy. I'm like trying to do a fuel pump. I got to get 1.25 inches on this banjo, but like I need the wrench that's like bent in a weird way or something. He's like, "Oh yeah, I totally got it." And he's like, "I'll bring it to you." I was like, "Well, how far away are you first? Because I don't want you driving 60 miles to me." He's like, "Oh, I'm 15 minutes away. I'll be there." His boy shows up, and he's my age, couple years older, 40-ish. He has a custom made board that fits across the front, like in between the fenders. So when you lay on it, you're not laying on the radiator and stuff.
Oh, nice.
A stack of tools. He got in there, dude. They saved me so hard. And we're, super nice guy. Him and his dad just kind of stood there and held a flashlight, and him and me would take turns. And then you get the banjo nut off. We got the new pump on. You can see it was bad. Then getting the banjo nut on is horrible, because it's just like you can just touch it with your fingers and then tighten it back on. And we were taking turns. Our hands are cramping up and stuff, And we finally get it back on, and he has the fuel bowl open, and I'm just cranking away, get it filled up. Thing fires up, and it's like I couldn't believe it. I ended up rolling out of there, I think, at 9:30. So it took, once he was there, it took like 3 hours, because then I had to pull the fuel bowl and stuff back off. These guys saved my butt. I wrote their names down. When I go back in there, I know where his dad lives. Like, I'm bringing these guys a serious care package. Like, I'm going to surprise them with something. So
I'm surprised you didn't leave him with that special bottle that didn't get touched in Moab.
I thought about it, but like not till afterwards, because like I don't know. I was like, I got to bring these guys something. I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe a special bottle. I'm going to bring them something. But yeah, the dude, then he showed me a bunch of pictures. He's got like a 700 horsepower 7.3 OBS Ford, like just fully built.
Whoa.
He's got another one. He's telling me all this, like telling me exactly, like, you ditch this, go with the Marty's electric fuel pump, you need an intercooler setup, and an exhaust, and then do a Hydra with just like the toe tune. It's be the best truck you ever had, dude. It's gonna change your world. Like, so I just have to put like $3,000 into it, and
That's it.
That's not terrible, really.
That's not terrible at all to get a big tow boy. Yeah. Wow.
So that's where we're at, man. I couldn't believe it.
What time did you get home?
I rolled in like 12:30, 12:50.
All
It
right.
wasn't 1:00 yet, but it was late.
So
but I was honestly, and it gets better. I was honestly the whole ride home, like I was so jacked because I decided I wasn't fixing the truck, like I was towing it home.
Yeah.
And like when like the way those guys helped me and it all came together, and he had like there just happened to be like a 7.3 guy in Silver Lake with the right wrenches and stuff. Like just mind blowing the way it came together. So I get it all loaded up. The guy, the guy's son, I keep saying boy, but I mean he's my age. He takes off, and the dad's still there, and he's like, "I'll help you get your truck loaded up and hooked to the truck." I'm like, "You guys have done so much. You don't have to. You know, I got this." He's like, "I got nothing else going on, man. I'm retired. I live here." So he held the flashlight. I got her all loaded up, and I pull around to the Silver Lake store and gas station. I'm just gonna go in and get like a Red Bull because I know I'm on my last legs, you know, and I got 3.5 hours to go. And this guy comes walking up. He's like, "Look, man, I will pay you whatever you want. Do you have a hitch pin? I'm in a bad way." And him and his family are moving to like Caldwell, Idaho. He's got a U-Haul trailer, and he had one of those like key lock hitch pins.
Yeah.
And the key part came out, and so he just has a bare hitch pin in there. And I was like, "Bro, I have a hitch pin for you, and I'm gonna so happily give." I was like, "Somebody just helped me in a huge way. I'm so passing this buck to you." I just pulled the
forward.
The Spartan rope pull thing that I had in the front of my truck so we could tow it.
The recovery point.
Yeah, the recovery point. I just pulled the pin out of that. Like, "This is yours, bro. Take it." And he was like stoked. His wife came out, was like, "Oh, we'll Venmo you money." I'm like, "No." I'm so happy I got to pass that on a little bit. 8 minutes after somebody helped me, like just weird how stuff works out. And
awesome.
I actually drove home kind of like on a high, like because I got the truck fixed and I got to help somebody else. And it was really cool.
Just so our listeners know, I reached out to Coy several times that afternoon on my drive home when I got home, like checking in with him, trying to figure out, does he still need help? What's going on? And Coy was being a little cryptic about it, or maybe because he was busy working on his truck, he didn't have time to chat. The next day I'm at work on Monday, and I sent him a text like, "Hey, so what's up? You going to retrieve your rig?" And he's like, "I made it home late last night." And I'm like, "Okay, how? You going to tell me now, or are you going to wait for the podcast?" He's like, "You got to wait for the podcast." So that was last Monday, and obviously our show ran way long then, and now it's running long again tonight. So I've been waiting 7 days to hear this story. That's such a cool story. Yeah, I've been dying to know the answer.
Just told you. I thought we were going to get into it that night. I just thought it was so cool. Like, yeah, it was awesome. And Lifeline Faz, the middle of nowhere humanity still exists. It could be heartwarming. It really was, dude. Like these guys, they don't know me from anywhere. Like they had no reason to help me. And the fact that just like the guy that lived next door, we decided to we pulled the truck like around behind this gas station. The dude that lived across the street's son was a like 7.3 enthusiast who had the wrenches pre-bit to put it's just wild how stuff works out like that. So
yeah, it's and it's still cool that people, you know, I think it's more of a small town thing is people will pull over.
I do. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, where I live, it's definitely not as common. And I try and do it whenever I can. Just like I stopped at the school because it was like, hey, somebody needs help. I can provide it sometimes. Why not? Right.
But just a fun little something I'll remember forever, honestly. So,
yep.
All right. What else we have next? The pranks.
Yeah. So, first prank that got pulled is I come out to my truck in the morning, and every single rig has got at least 3 rubber ducks on it. Someone ducked someone who may be on this group chat video right now, and his name isn't Aaron or Ben, ducked every rig there. I immediately pulled mine out and stuck them in somebody else's rig before they woke up. Yeah.
You don't know how
So
difficult that was to pull off, though. Because, like, you couldn't really walk around because the gravel there was like pea gravel.
It's
So
so loud.
So loud. And I was kind of getting up before people usually. But, like, I don't know who all has rigs locked and stuff. So Alan always got up for me, and I see him head off to the bathroom. So I'm like, now's the time. And I'm like, I'm putting it on in every vehicle I can and on the hoods of the ones I can't. I see Alan coming back. So I walk behind his truck, and I just like chuck 3 up into his truck because it didn't have the top. I just like hurl them up there.
Yeah. I lock my truck every night. So mine ended up on the hood.
I don't know why you guys did this. Everybody put them back in my vehicle. You gave me back my ammo. Like, I don't, did you? It was a terrible. I have 19 ducks to put back on your guys' vehicles for, like, you recycled the prank.
That's okay. That's all right.
And I got like a chub pack of weird ducks off Amazon. So they're like ducks that look like cows and dragons and all kinds of stuff. Police officers. So
yeah.
I didn't get them all. AK Ryan says somehow they all ended up on his. Well, I'm glad you got some of them at least.
Yeah.
I probably have a dozen in my truck.
So I paid Coy back on one of the days that I didn't go wheeling. I went into town, and I ended up in a store. I needed a sleeping bag. My sleeping bag broke. The zipper broke, so I couldn't zip it up. And so I was in a town that had a store that had a bunch of supplies and stuff. But I came across this Junior Explorer sticker, and it's like in children's font, and it's got a tent and a little campfire and a map and a compass on it and like some dots like you're walking on a trail. And I stuck that on Coy's rig, the Junior Explorer. I felt pretty good about that one.
You stuck it in the exact same spot that Ben stuck like a Pokemon sticker on my truck.
Oh, really?
It's the exact same spot.
That's hilarious.
Did that Pokemon sticker fall off, or did you take it off?
I let it run till it was basically just a white outline. I ain't taking it. I mean, unless it's like wildly offensive, I'm not taking a sticker off till it's disgusting.
Yeah,
Coy's rocking that not Radflow, Rancho sticker now on the back too.
Yeah. Hey, that Rancho saved me. I got a rep Rancho now. Like, I'm a Rancho guy.
I had that sticker, the bike with a basket full of flowers that Rick stuck on my rig from like 3 years ago on my rig until this summer, and it was literally just a white spot.
Yeah. And then we mentioned earlier, Coy gave me this license plate frame one day when he went out to go wheeling, and I slipped it on Josh's truck.
And that is like the highest quality license plate frame that I've ever touched. It's like heavy duty.
It was definitely heavy duty.
I've had it for probably 10 years. Just like wait.
Oh wow.
I've had it since Cash for Clunkers, essentially, like a really long time. Yeah.
And then we were leaving one of the hot springs, and I walked behind my truck, and I found out that I got a new bumper sticker that says "My truck is lifted because fat dudes can't jump." So, yeah.
Is that you want skinny dudes in your truck, or what's that mean?
I guess you get to take that however you want. I'm gonna leave that sticker on there because I'm hoping that it's turning heads and people are like, "What in the world?" When you stuck that on there, Coy, though, like it's not centered, it's not level. You just like slapped it on.
Well, it was, the timing's not always what you need.
Yeah, that's true. And that sticker, I actually saw that sticker when we were at the t-shirt shop in Moab. So, yeah, it was a good time. Speaking of t-shirt shop, did we talk about that last week at all? If we didn't, there's a t-shirt shop in Moab where you pick out the shirt style, long sleeve, short sleeve, sweatshirt, whatever, and they just print stuff on it for you. So Coy and I were wearing them last week. Josh was wearing his this week. Coy's wearing another one this week.
Hoodies from there.
Yeah. They got trail things on there that says Rock Crawler on the back of that one. Moab Jeep Safari. So yeah, we got a lot of cool shirts.
I have been to Moab, a handful of
4
times now, and I go there every time. Like half my shirts are from there. They're super high quality. I really like that little. And it's a Moab T-shirt shop. What's the name of it?
Yeah, it's called the T-shirt shop. That's it. It's just called the
Yeah.
T-shirt shop. And so this shirt that I'm wearing right here, I bought at that mercantile store, and it just says Moab, Utah. I paid $20 plus tax for this shirt. At the T-shirt shop, I got custom shirts made where they put a logo on the front, a logo on the back, and I picked out the high quality tri-blend, and it was $19 after tax. So it was cheaper to get a custom shirt made than it was for me to just buy an off the shirt.
And they also have like an entire section of like graphics that are like, I want to say almost like a Rat Fink style kind of like, say like Cliffhanger, and it's just like cartoon Jeep and eagle flying, and or like I have one that's backwards Bill and it's this snake going down, and there's like a Jeep driving down the top of it. Fins and Things is like a Jeep going over, some off-road rigs going over a dinosaur, and like they're all this like cool style. And so as you do the trails, you kind of collect the shirt. So it's like how the Jeeps have the trail hero thing. Yeah, there you go.
You're going to be stupid. You better be tough.
These shirts are like the Jeep badge of honor for me. So
yeah.
That is awesome. It's nice to know that they have a cool spot like that in town.
That's not super expensive too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, like I said, I paid less for a custom 2-sided shirt than I did for an off-the-shelf shirt.
So. They're not vinyl, they must be sublimation prints because they heat press them on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they heat press them on.
Yeah, it's probably sublimation or D whatever.
Nice. Yeah. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's a good time.
Well, next week, no joke, it's our last episode. We are calling it quits. We're saying farewell. But if you are seriously interested in taking up the mantle of our awesome off-road podcast family, of everyone that's ever done the show, because there's been 2 different other sets of hosts plus the other co-hosts we've had on the show since I've been on the show. It's come take up the mantle. You won't be without. I can kind of help show you the ropes and get you going. I won't leave you high and dry. If you are seriously interested, that would be cool. I would like to see it keep running, but if not, then the lights will be out and maybe we'll pop on once in a blue moon. Who knows? But yeah, it'll be time, but we'll talk about that more next week. And until then,
we want to thank everybody who listens to us, especially those of you who listen live and watch us on YouTube. You make the show a whole lot of fun. I know I say that every week, but I really do mean it. These comments are a lot of fun. Appreciate you guys. I'd tell you to help us out by sharing us with your friends and family to help us grow, but we only got one more show, so I'm not going to say it. But what I will say is God bless America.
Don't forget to visit Patriot Patch and join the Patch of the Month Club. Check out our Gaia affiliate link for up to 40% off. Also, don't forget to head over to Warren Colby Valve and 4 Patriots to see all of their great products. We are a proud part of the Firearms Radio Network. Got a question or comment? Send it to us through our Linktree account or by searching for Off-Road Podcast. Also, you can listen to us live at overlandradio.com Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. When off-road, please remember to have fun, tread lightly, and be safe and courteous. Thanks for listening.
Rick asked where the big party campout is. It was literally just in Utah. We invited you multiple times, but you were too cool to go with us. So,
yeah,
I can say my feelings were a little bit hurt that the orange Jeep wasn't there, but what can you do?
What can you do?